It is the owner and general manager of your Dallas Cowboys. It is Jerry Jones. Good morning, sir.
Hey, guys. Kevin, Corey, Mike. Man, what a day.
Yes, sir.
What a day.
Here we go. Los Angeles, here we come.
All right. So, and I want to ask you, we've won 3 in a row. The Cowboys have won 3 in a row. I have nothing to do with it. Do you have a good luck routine that you need to make sure it keeps rolling going into SoFi?
Well, first of all, you're part of the routine, getting to have this show with you every Friday. But secondly, you have a lot to do with it. You're a great conduit for me to visit with the fans that do listen to you, the one or two.
Mm-hmm.
But candidly, you're a big part of this thing. I've always thought we share something in common. We both chose to spend our life in sport in different ways, but sport. And that was a big decision for me, and I'm glad you made it too. But seriously, you've got a lot to do with it.
Now, you've made it clear, and I think we all understand, there is certainly no quarterback controversy or anything of the like. What I was curious about, though, is there anything that Cooper Rush does that you think might be better than what Dak does, or you would like to see Dak integrate into his game when he comes back?
Well, I think that I would look at the overall thing, and I think Cooper's perception and how we use him speaks to a more dependence on the running game. I think when you got a player like Dak, boy, you can step on out there and do some inordinate things that you hope you can, and you can. But Romo had that same thing. And so this gets you back down into really depending on the scheme, depending on kind of everybody doing their job, but having to do it a little better. And I can't emphasize that enough. If you look at life or look at your body or look at any other thing, it's really built on a premise that if something's short, something else will go long and make up for it. And that's the way bodies work. And so I think that's what you're seeing, and I think that's what you're seeing with him at quarterback. Everybody else just stepping up and playing at a higher level. Now, does that mean they're not going to play at this high or higher with Dak? Well, that's when you hear us talk about what a leader Dak is. And he does inspire men to go beyond what they thought they could go. And that's a part of his plus.
Jerry, I'm wondering, how much do you talk to Dak Prescott? And then has that changed over the years with talking to the team or / talking to the quarterback in your tenure of 30-plus years of being the owner general manager?
I really can't answer that. I really can't. I just can't answer it because I don't have a feel for it. I communicate when the situation calls for it, and it's not a structured thing. It's not a planned thing that I'm going to have this many meetings. I'm going to be sure and touch base with this player 3 times during a period of time. That's not the way it works. The human beings that we are have enough impromptu situations that with me where I am, at the decision maker on the team, personnel, as well as from the standpoint of being able to do some things when somebody's got a need. And I'm not just talking about a player, but we all have needs, our family, we all have things that come up. And if you're human, and I've had more help than anybody, a helping hand or an interested, a sensitive hand can make a difference. That's the way I communicate.
Jerry, with this team playing so well with Cooper so far, what do you think the thing is that you've learned about this team that maybe you didn't know before this season started?
Well, I couldn't have known what I believed to be right before our eyes, such a chemistry and such a everybody pitching in and having if you will, a major challenge right off the bat in our first ball game, at the end of our first ball game. and you don't want to. I guess you want to find it out, but you don't want to have the situation that causes you to have to find it out, and that is an adjustment, a major adjustment that could be a real negative and turns into a positive. Actually, Dak was a part of that his rookie year, and a real setback for us turned into a positive in a lot of ways. This has got a little marks of that. The setback could turn out to be the gathering of the troops and the strength that goes with it. Again, I come to mind Mike. That's when the feature really can be on the leadership that the head coach is. And I don't want to say head coach. I want to say Mike because it's Mike. It's his skills. It's his way. It's his personality. It's his having his butt kicked, and everybody knows it from time to time, and then him coming back and the steady hand. All of that goes with the type of thing that he can bring to the table, and he's bringing it.
Does that mean at this point in the season that despite the adversity, do you feel better about this team than maybe you did at the beginning of the season?
Well, that's you could say that. You really could say that. The thing is that I didn't know some things about this team that I know now, but I sure don't know it all because no one can or does. But I've seen us handle adversity that I didn't know how we would handle. I hoped we would handle adversity. I really didn't know we'd have this kind of adversity. That's a rough blow to lose Dak right off the bat. And so I didn't know if we could overcome that in the way we have. You see that, and it's a credit to the fortitude and the will here that's involved in this team. Now, we're doing a lot of talking about this, and, of course, we got one coming up here this week against the world champs, and it's out there in alien territory. Although I will tell you this, you can't imagine the Cowboy fans that are out there. There's a bunch of them. Being out in California for our training camp helps that. But we've just got a ton of Los Angeles Cowboy fans, and they were there when we opened that beautiful new stadium, and I hope we'll have a nice helping of them out there Sunday.
Are you surprised at all then, since this game almost feels at times like a neutral site game, even though it is in SoFi, y'all have a better record than the Rams. Are you surprised? Because Coach McCarthy was surprised yesterday that y'all are 5.5-point underdogs. Do you think that the Cowboys are getting the respect they deserve?
Oh, I understand. That's against the world champs, and you've got to have something to do, and so setting it up as to the way people are feeling about it, which would be underdog or the favorite, those kind of things. I get all of that. That's important. That, by the way, is very important to interest in the games. Very important. And but I just absolutely love Mike's response when he said, we ain't nobody's underdog. I guess to paraphrase him a little bit, but I love that response, and there you go. That was impromptu, and that was real.
Jerry, on Tuesday, you spoke with Sean and RJ, said, hey, let's see how Dak progresses. We haven't had practice yet. Now that you've had practice this week, how much progress has Dak made, and maybe are you feeling more optimistic about him playing against Philadelphia?
Okay, you were going good on your question to the one about can he play against Philadelphia.
Okay.
That's too succinct, but he is improving, and he is gripping it stronger, and he is doing some of the things. Is he able to grip and throw in a way that you'd want him to play in a ball game? No. But is he making a lot of improvement, which is a key in a rehab situation? Yes. I don't know when he will be back out there, but I will tell you he is improving.
Jerry, the running game, but the monster you have with Pollard and Zeke, are you getting the production that you want out of it, or do you think there's a lot more that they can get out of that thing?
Well, Washington, when we talk about the running game, the strength of their team is right in the eye of the storm relative to the running game, and that's their defensive line. They're a very, very, very formidable defensive line, which would thwart the run game if set up to do it. And they had a good game plan, and they really knew how we were going to have to beat them, and they knew we were going to have to get some run established, and knew what we can and maybe would be doing relative to the run. And so let's give Washington Redskins some credit for a little bit of an anemic run game out here past Sunday. That doesn't mean that you stop running it, and we didn't. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't, when they set it up like that, doesn't give you some openings to throw the ball, and it did. So I'm not, I don't want to be cavalier and say I'm not concerned about the running game, but I am going to be realistic and say Washington had a lot to do with that anemic running game.
On the flip side, are you concerned at all about the ability to stop the run? Because this defense has been phenomenal, and if there is one ding in it thus far, it has been some trouble stopping the run. Well,
because most teams know the value of establishing the run, then being sensitive about being able to stop the run, concerned, if you will, whatever, is natural. And I don't talk to anybody that's not concerned about stopping the running game or interested in establishing the running game. That's across the board. Getting it done, that's a different deal. And the answer is, I think we will, as we move along, have times when we have to adjust, but I think we're capable of still providing the pressure that we want to provide, if you will, having the kind of defense that can fly to the ball and get hopefully more takeaways, and at the same time be steady in the middle in the run. Now, outside, the run game outside has been a little more of our Achilles heel, off tackle, it would seem. And so, but I think we're capable of adjusting and having success there.
And, obviously the Rams struggle to run the ball this year. They throw the ball to Kupp a whole bunch. How excited, nervous, I don't know the right word is, to see Kupp versus, let's say, Trayvon Diggs all day Sunday?
Well, I'm, I guess the word is excited. I'm just excited about getting to go out there and play the world champs. I'm glad this bunch is the world champs because we could have that substantive a victory if we can get a victory by beating the defending champions. And Kupp is outstanding. And when I see him, I just think of, boy, that's the NFL. Only in the NFL. And there he comes in, and he's just got a combination of skill and smarts and the kinds of things that you think about a receiver being able to accomplish, work ethic, and it is rightfully so has gotten the accolades and the success that he's had. He's a heck of a player.
Jerry, Matt Stafford spent a lot of time in Detroit and, kind of suffered a little bit there, and then goes to L.A. and gets his Super Bowl and shows that he can be that guy. Did that give him that win give him a pretty clear path to the Hall of Fame in your eyes?
Yeah, I don't want to. I think he has the exceptional ability and probably will have the resume to have really been as accomplished or as good as he's been over his career, and then to have that Hall of Fame. Now, they'd be the first to tell you, and I might echo that, he may not be through having Super Bowls. And so I think he's very likely to be in the Hall of Fame.
Do you have a status update for us about Jordan Lewis? I know he had been kind of on the fence for this weekend's game.
My bet is that we'll see. Really, I think it does depend on these next couple of days with him. And I'm not going to make a bet on that.
And then I had one more defensive question. Micah was talking about, because, obviously people are quick to make comparisons and talking about the doomsday defense, and he said, I hope we're making them proud. Do you think Micah in this defense would make those old doomsday defenses proud?
Yes, I do. And I have gotten to know personally the people that played on it over the years. And there's no doubt in mind the qualities that Micah has on and off the field, and his penchant for wanting to maximize, wanting to just be the best. I think he's got all the makeup that those guys would acknowledge and smile about.
And Jerry, you're speaking of Micah there. He has the suite out at the Rangers game. Him and a couple players,
Dak,
like Gallup and Dak, show up for the game where Aaron Judge hit the record-breaking home run. And I know that ball, Mike and Kevin were talking about, it was about a $2.5 million ball is what that record-breaking ball was. And I kept saying, I wanted to prove I'm the greatest fan of all time. If I caught it, I don't care about the money. I'm throwing it back, all right? I don't want that ball. I want to show I'm a great fan. Would Jerry Jones have thrown it back, or are you keeping that sucker?
Oh, I think I'd like him to have it, the player, at the end of the day. Now, if I didn't have any money, so it's all relative. Let's be real a little bit here.
Yeah.
We tell Corey to get real all the time, for sure. Yeah,
we try our best, Jerry.
Your personality, your charitability, that will change on you when you're broke.
Jerry, I was wondering, you saying you're a baseball fan last week, and obviously you grew up next to where SoFi Stadium is. And are you a Dodgers fan, or what team did you root for when you were a baseball fan?
Well, first of all, baseball was my love, and playing it was, I still love it. And I got to travel, played American Legion, played all the way up through, and so I love baseball and just followed meticulously all the players that played it. And I was in college when Maris and Mantle were playing together, and Maris broke the record. So, but I'm a great baseball fan. It obviously went football for me, but it wasn't because that's where my heart was or that's where I enjoyed playing. And I followed all the teams, followed all the players. I was really a player baseball fan more than a team baseball fan. But my part of the world, in Arkansas, you couldn't go down a street in a subdivision, or you couldn't go down the street in just a street, and people would be sitting on the porch, and they'd be sitting there in a chair and gathered around listening to the radio and listening to the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was just like the sun going down. And it was just, you'd walk down your street in those afternoons, those spring afternoons and summers, and it was just almost a rite of passage. And you'd wave at everybody or see everybody over there, and everybody be sitting around, some of them having a beer, some of them just sitting there kind of having a social, and everybody just glued to that radio. Not television, radio.
Jerry, I hope you understand bringing up the St. Louis Cardinals is still a little painful here in the Metroplex, but I appreciate that answer.
Of course I do. Of course I do. Bringing up that, of course I do. But that's just the way it was. It was that way
Sure.
for a lot of the South. And as a matter of fact, when the extent of the sophistication of my purchase of the Cowboys was that the Cowboys were losing so much money, about $1 million a month to be exact, the Cowboys were losing, that my idea was that the way to right that ship was to do something like the Cardinals had done in their association with Anheuser-Busch and Budweiser, and that surely that association, that made Anheuser-Busch and Budweiser what they were. And I dropped it at that. That was enough for me to go and be involved with the Cowboys. I never dreamed that as time would follow, I knew I had to have something other than tickets and television to make it work. So they were in their own way a little role model for me as to maybe how to justify somehow getting the juice to flow through the veins of the Cowboys.
And that's fascinating business side right
Absolutely.
there. Jerry, before we let you go, Zeke said that he didn't go to that game with Dak and Micah because he didn't want to make the drive from Frisco to Arlington. Is there a way, like if he'd have asked, can I get a ride in the chopper, would you have set that up for him? Or
I would. Yes, I would. Of course I would. That'd be fun. And that'd be a nice memory. I remember after the Super Bowl, our first Super Bowl in Los Angeles, I remember getting on the helicopter with Daryl Johnston, and Mark Stepnoski was on there with Daryl. And, boy, we lifted off from that Coliseum, and we lifted off, from the Rose Bowl, and we lifted off to go to our post-game party. And I'll never forget flying over all those lights in Los Angeles and Daryl and Mark sitting on that plane, and we were going we were several hundred feet above ground. And I thought, my God, right going over Los Angeles, we have just drove a flag in the top of the world. It was just an unbelievable feeling to look down. And actually, when I looked down, we did fly. I could scan out and, I guess where it was, but the airport, and saw the house that I actually was living in. My parents were when I was born there in Los Angeles.
Wow.
So when I think of a helicopter and think of being able to think, and I always think of that ride. Gene was on the helicopter with me, and we were going out across there, and that was probably an hour and a half after the game going to the victory party.
Well, hopefully when y'all fly out of Los Angeles again this time, it'll be with a 4-game winning streak. Thank you very much for the time, good sir.
You bet, guys.